All right, so let's go ahead and get started on the lab. I've moved to another screen, so it's going to look a little different as I'm looking at you and we're talking about this. But I'm going to give you a couple simple tasks to put together, just to be able to kind of work through with how we're going to be using Excel throughout the semester. So first thing that we're going to do is we're going to title this upper corner here, number A1. We're going to title that Section 1. And in Section 1, we are going to be looking at a few different things. So the first thing that we're going to take a look at, and just for your own organization, and it's kind of a pet peeve of mine, is sometimes people don't set up spreadsheets properly, and then they end up not quite looking real professional. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start in B2 with my table that I'm going to put together. And the first thing I'm going to do, and I'm going to tell you why I did that in a second, but the first column is going to be date. Second column, I want to have a description of whatever this function is. In this case, we're going to just go ahead and write description. And I'm going to tab over twice. Actually, I'm going to go ahead and do it 3 times so that I have 3 different columns represented here. Then the next one is going to be income. And then the next one is going to be expense. So the reason that I tabbed over the 3 times is that I really want this description column to be more defined. I want people to use this, and I want them to spell out what that actual function is going to be. So I'm just going to highlight those 3 cells. And remember, up here we have the Merge and Center tool. I'm going to go ahead and hit Merge and Center. And then that is located in the middle there. I really like to center the titles of columns. I think it makes it look a lot better. So I can go ahead and select this entire row, row 2, all the way across. And I do that by just clicking over here on the side. The other thing I can do is I can just highlight just the cells that I want. Either way, probably your better bet is to just work within those cells and then hit center by itself. So here we can left align, center, or right align. This way up here we can get those to be up toward the top. We can get them to be in the middle, or we can get them to be at the bottom of those cells. But for right now, we're going to have all of this centered. Next thing we're going to do is let's get some headers in here so that we get some things that look a little bit more, a little bit nicer. Now this is all a big header row. I could just put a single box around that and just have an outside border, and then I could go individually and click each one and hit that same border, or I can just highlight the whole thing and I can go through and see this all borders tool, and this will give me the vertical, the horizontal, as well as the inside and outside borders. So all of the borders that are there. Now notice that there's not 3 borders here because I merged those cells. So that's why it's set up that way. Another thing that I can do is I'll go ahead and I'm going to give you 5 different items that you're going to be working with. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then I'm going to just pull that across to the expense column, and again I'm going to do the all borders. Now sometimes this looks it works. It's not the best. I think it can be better, and one way that I like to do that is I like to use the border tool that is the thick outside border in my headers here. So in the top of each of these columns I have a nice thick border, and you should be able to see the difference there. Another thing that I like to do is have a border around the entire table. So I'll use that thick border again. So the inside borders are pretty light. The outside borders are thicker. Another thing I like to do, I think it looks a lot more professional, is to go ahead and shade this header row here. And all I got to do is highlight those, and I will come up and take a look at this fill option. And I put just a light color on it, just a really light color. I mean, you could go here, sometimes you really can't even see that, maybe a little darker gray. You can choose the colors. If I was going to run a series of these, I would really want to make sure that they all look exactly the same. Next thing you're going to do is you're going to put in your dates. Dates are a specific format, so, and there's a lot of different ways you can put dates. In accounting, sometimes if we get numbers in places that we're not adding, subtracting, we're not using them for a function other than just showing a date, I like to actually put in the date. Some people use just the numbers, but I'll show you some different formats. If we highlight this date column and we right click on it, if we go down to format cells, you're going to come up with this number menu, and we're going to look at it from a date standpoint. And we're just going to click date, and over here on the side, these are different ways that you can put the date. We could put the date as this big long thing, but it's going to be a whole lot of information up in there. We could put just as the numbers, but sometimes numbers get confused with, are we adding those? Are they something that we're going to have to be working with from a arithmetic standpoint or something? I really do like to use this this format here, mainly because if I say that it's for April 12th, and it will go ahead and put April 12th in there. And it also keeps us from it being a math. If it looks something like this, if it was 4/12, that actually, excuse me, I just did the exact same thing. So 4/12, you can see the difference between those two. This actually can come up as a formula. So if somehow you make a mistake and you're going to put yourself in that position, you're going to find that that's going to run a formula and it's going to give you some type of an error. So making sure that you use the proper format is always positive as well. It really doesn't matter much as long as it's uniform. It's just a pet peeve of mine. Now you can see that our description up here is 3 columns wide, but each of our individuals down here are individual. So we want to go ahead and make sure that we merge. And here I'll give you another option, is that instead of merge and center, I'm going to just say that all we're going to do is merge those. Now I could go through and highlight this one and hit merge, and highlight this one and hit merge. But if I want it to stay the same format, I just highlight it. You can see that it's highlighted. See that little tiny box right there? We're just going to drag that box down. Now when we do that, we've created those 3 column wide columns. Now the problem we did is we did all this formatting before I realized that that was the case, and you can see that we have some dark outside lines. It's really not a big deal. All we're going to do is we're going to highlight these again. We're going to use the no line tool, no borders, and then we're going to go back and do what we had done before. First thing we need to do is give that a thin line. So that's going to be the all borders or outside borders. Excuse me, all borders. Click the wrong one. And that's going to give us our faint lines. And then if we go ahead and just do the outside with the thick, and do this one with the thick, and then we're back to where we need to be. I'm going to give you guys the data that fits into this, and then you guys can plug those to get to this point, plug those numbers in, and then I'll show you on another video how we're going to do the calculations.